Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarini Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namosute Namo Brahmana Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Te Namaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Das Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Hare Krishna. All of you can unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to understand Gita in 18 days. So today the chapter Kshetra Kshetragna Vibhaga Yoga, or nature, enjoyer and consciousness. So the first 12 chapters are over now. That is the first 6 we saw, like through karma how to connect to God, and the next 6 chapters through bhakti how do we connect to God. So Krishna, in almost all the chapters, Krishna has been declaring that bhakti is the highest. So then the question comes, then why is the jnana we need to see, right? Then why should we learn about the jnana chapters if the bhakti has been declared the highest? So the answer is that not all are pure devotees, right? We are all on a different platform. So we are still learning. So for that, only when we develop the sufficient knowledge, then only we'll be able to, but the main intention is to attain bhakti through knowledge. So that is the intention of this. So once Prabhupada, he has brought all his devotees to Jaipur. Okay, he's all Western devotees. Like first time when he came to India, and that time Indira Gandhi was the PM, and she had arranged the visa for, I think, very large number of devotees. So that time there was a in front of all the big scholars, right? So Prabhupada asked his devotees to chant the mantra from Ishopanishad. But they were all Sanskrit scholars. They were all stunned because by seeing the devotees, the Western devotees chanting that mantra. And then, but they asked, but they were all very well versed in Sanskrit. And they were asking Prabhupada, how are you able to make so many devotees? Because Prabhupada by then had made more than 10,000 devotees in the West, right? So how are you able to make? We are not able to make. I mean, they were more scholarly in the sense, I mean, they knew, but then they were not having so many followers. So how are you able to make, they asked Prabhupada. So for that, Prabhupada said that you have knowledge, but you don't have bhakti. So the devotion is missing there. So Prabhupada told that in a check, we put 5 zeros and I give it, so that doesn't have any value. But when you add a number, right, 1, it gets the value. So similarly, if there is only jnana, only knowledge, then that is not actually worth. But when the knowledge brings bhakti, then that gets the value. So from today, we'll be learning about so this is a bit deep chapter, more of philosophy. So give attention. Maybe you may have many doubts at the end of the chapters. I don't know. I'll try to explain as much ever as per my capacity. So hope Radha Govind bless me to deliver rightly. So let's pay our obeisances to Sri Radha Govind, ISKCON Mangaluru, and to Srila Prabhupada, based on whose teachings we are conducting this course. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So these are the okay. So these are the topics covered in this chapter. Arjuna 6 questions. So Arjuna asked about the 6 questions, Kshetra, Kshetragna, and all that. So then Krishna describes Kshetra, Kshetragna, and Jnanam in 2 to 7 shlokas. Then the process of, then the Jnanam. So what is the process of acquiring knowledge? Then Gneyam, what is the object? Then comes Prakriti, Purusha, and their union. Then Jnana Chakshu, vision of knowledge. So what is the actual vision? So how a yogi sees, right? So that. So if the Bhakti is the conclusion in 12th chapter, then why is the Jnana presented? So we'll see here. So in truth, the entire Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti. The first 6 chapters discuss how to achieve Bhakti through work. The last 6 describe how to achieve it through knowledge, and the middle 6 discuss Bhakti itself. Also in the 12th chapter, Krishna explained how he personally delivers his devotees from birth and death, right? From the ocean of birth and death. Krishna says that, Teshamaham samudhartha mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami na chirat partha maya veshita chetasam. So he says that I will personally deliver the one who surrenders, who is involved in the devotional service, Krishna's. So the last 6 chapters provide the philosophical knowledge necessary to extricate oneself from the material world. So why this knowledge is required? So that how we can come out of this, how do we understand how this nature works, how my body works, and what am I supposed to do, right? And to come out of this cycle of birth and death. So that is why we need to understand this philosophy. Jnana has its use in assisting our detachment from Maya and our attachment to Krishna. Why we are currently attached to Maya? Because we have forgot, we are in the illusion of the 3 modes. Because of the 3 modes, we are forgetting that and we are attached more to Maya. So that detachment, if we have to develop, we need this philosophical knowledge. Hence, when we use this knowledge as a means to attain devotion, it becomes a part of bhakti. So then that knowledge is also becomes a part of bhakti. Arjuna uvacha Prakrutim purusham chaiva kshetram kshetragname cha etad veditumichami gnanam gneyam cha keshava. Shri Bhagavan uvacha idam shariram kaunteya kshetram ityabhidhiyate etadyo veditam prahuhu kshetragna iti tadvidaha. So here the 6 questions. Prakritim, what is Prakriti? Arjuna is asking. Who is Purusha? What is Kshetra? What is Kshetragna? So this I want to know. And what is Jnana? And what is Gneya? The goal of knowledge. So these are the 6 things. So what is Krishna explaining here? Idam shariram kaunteya. This body is called a Kshetra. What is that Kshetra? The field of activity. And then iti abhidyate. And etadyo veditam prahu Kshetragna. And the one who knows this body, right, is the Kshetragna, the soul. Krishna is pointing towards the soul here, right? So like the Arjuna said, "Oh, my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, Purusha, and the field, and the knower of the field, and of knowledge, and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called field, and who knows this body is called the knower of the field." So we know that this is our this is how our body is formed. Like there is a soul, right? The Satchitananda, and the soul is covered by a subtle body, which is mind, false ego, and intelligence. And then again from outer, it is covered with a gross body, which is called this material body, which is made of earth, water, air, fire, and ether, the gross elements. So how do we understand? Like there is a garden and there is a gardener. So the gardener cannot be garden, right? So it is, both are different. So when I am sick, when I become sick, I observe, there is somebody who observes that I am sick. Who is that person? So he is the knower, right? The soul. So then that shows I am different from my body. Just like the gardener is different from the garden. So I am also different from the body. So there are 6 questions. Prakriti. So Prakriti means material nature. So this the material nature is ever changing. So this body is also of material nature, which we see that from childhood we keep on changing. The body is keep on changing. It is not the same, right? And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that Krishna says the 6 changes that we see, right? Kaumaram. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara. Kaumara means engage. Yavvana, Kaumara is a boyhood. Then Yavvana, engage, and Jara is a old age. Kaumaram Yavvanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Praptihi Dhiras Tatra Namuhyati. So that is why Arjuna, when when the soul is changing the bodies, the brave ones, right, does not, the one in knowledge, the one who is in knowledge does not get bewildered by such a change. Krishna says in the chapter 2. So what are those 6 stages which the body goes through? So it takes birth in the womb of a mother. It stays for some time. It grows, and then it gives some effects, right? It gives some effects, and then it grows. It stays for some time, and then it dwindles, and then it dies. So these are the 6 changes which all the body go through. So the soul is different from it. He's only the observer. He's there, but then when the body, when the soul understands that this is of no use, the body, and then he leaves that body and he takes, just like a changing of cloth, right? What is that shloka? Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinnati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani grinnati navani dehi. So just like one change the cloth, like which is worn out. So similarly, the soul takes the next body. So this is the nature of the Prakriti also. It's a ever changing. And the soul is entrapped in this material nature, right? Because we want to be enjoyer. We want to become enjoyer, that we want to lord it over the material nature. That is why we are here. So this is the Prakriti. And then Purusha. Purusha is the enjoyer, the living entity. So there are 2 Purushas in our body. Okay. So can somebody tell who are the 2 Purushas? Who are the 2 Purushas in our body?
Mataji, one is Angushta Purusha.
What is that? Angushta, okay, Paramatma you mean to say.
Yeah, Mataji.
Yeah, because Paramatma is said to be the size of Angushta, that is 10 inch or something, I think. Angushta, 9 inch. Yeah. 9 centimeter or 9 inch. 9 inch, I think. It is not Angushta, no, then? Yeah. I don't know what is Angushta, Mataji. First time hearing. Yeah, one is Paramatma. Maybe you are referring to that. Yeah.
I think so, Mataji.
Paramatma.
Yes, one is Atma and the other is Paramatma. So these are the 2 Purushas in our body. So who is observing, right? What is because the soul is involved in the activity, the karma, through the body, right? But then what is the soul is desiring, and accordingly we are getting the body. And then what is the other Purusha, the Paramatma is doing? He is Upadrashta Anumanta. Upadrashta means he is the overseer. He is noting all the activities, what I'm doing, and accordingly I'll be awarded next life, right? So, and then he is also granting also my wishes. He's the one who is granting. Otherwise, how is that whatever we wish gets granted? Sometimes he grants, sometimes he does not grant, right? That is all because Krishna is there as Paramatma. He is listening to all my desires, and sometimes he grants, sometimes it is his wish. End of the day, whatever happens, it is only if he intends, it will happen, right? So two Purushas. And then there is a Kshetra, which is this body, Shariram. So the body is called a Kshetra, the field of activity, and the Kshetragna. Kshetragna is observer in body, soul and super soul. Okay, so here Purusha is only living entity, and Kshetragna is two Kshetragnas. That is, one is the soul and second is the super soul. So what is the difference between the soul and super soul? Right? Both are eternal. Both are Sat Chit Ananda. Both are Sat means eternal, Chit means knowledge, Ananda means blissful. Both are same in nature, but then there is a huge difference in the quantity.
Quantity.
The quality, quality is same, quantity is huge difference. And also it says in Bhagavatam, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Vapi Bahunam Vidadati Kaman. Means both are eternal, both are consciousness. But then what is the difference? The super soul alone can take care of the desires of the entire universe. All the living entities, all the 84 lakh species. So that is how is the difference. That is the difference between both. And then Jnanam or knowledge. So what is knowledge? Understanding Kshetragna and Kshetra and Kshetragna means understanding the body, the field of activity, what is happening, and the Kshetragna, the knower of the body. That is called as knowledge. Here again, Kshetragna means we have to always think knowing about the soul and about the super soul. And then what is Gneya? The goal of knowledge is Paramatma. So to know the Lord is the object. So always the goal, right? The highest goal is to know about the Lord. And also Krishna says in the chapter 7 or 10, he says that out of all the knowledge, the science, after science, in science, the knowledge, spiritual science is Krishna. So knowing Lord is the highest. So these are the 6 questions and the answers. So is it clear? We can go to next slide. Any doubts in this? So Prakriti is material nature, Purusha is enjoyer, and Kshetra is body, Kshetragna, 2 Kshetragnas, one soul and other super soul. Jnana, what is knowledge? Understanding these 2, Kshetra and Kshetragna, is the knowledge. And then goal of knowledge is Krishna.
So the goal is to dissolve into Paramatma, and when you dissolve into Paramatma, then there is no existence of Atma, right?
No, we should not. So this is no. That is a different kind of liberation is there, okay? But then that is not the goal. So that is not the highest, not becoming the merging with Krishna. Actually, we are separate. We are always separate. If you remember a shloka in chapter 2, the soul cannot be divided. Achedyo yamadahyo yam akledyo shoshya evacha. It says that means that the soul cannot be cut by weapon, not it can be dry by air, right? Or it can be it cannot be wet by water. And these things we learned, right? So what does it mean? When it cannot cut, how can it go join and merge in the Lord, right? So the merging is not that. We remain separate, knowing the sense, we understand our true nature, like the soul. I understand that I am not this body, I am this soul. And then I engage in the devotional service. So, but that for that, we need to have realization. Until that, Krishna, that is why yesterday's chapter, he gives the different methods. Like 24 hours, you can't do the bhakti, but you can do the sadhana bhakti. Slowly we can come to God. Like 7 stages he gives, right? So Nishkama Karma Yoga, Sakama Karma, and then Jnana, Dhyana, like that. So through that we understand. But finally the thing is, the highest is the getting involved in the devotional service of the Lord. It is not to merge with the Lord. Okay?
Okay.
Come out of this death and birth and death, and but to go back to spiritual world, that is the thing. To go back to spiritual world and to engage in the devotional service. And but we need practice, right? If we don't have practice, what are we going to do in spiritual world? So we practice here. We do through sadhana bhakti, and then slowly we practice and we follow everything, and then we want to go back to spiritual world. Okay, Prabhu? Okay. So if both soul and super soul are Kshetragna or knower of the body, then what is the difference between the soul and Lord? I think I just mentioned. If somebody remembers, can tell me.
Ma'am,
So both-
Mataji, it's the quality and the quantity. In quality, we are the same, but
Yes.
quantity-wise, we are.
Yeah, very good. And there is one more thing also I mentioned. One more difference. Okay, what does super soul do? Okay, okay, that answer is right. What is that? So what is the work of a super soul? What is the work of Paramatma in our body? Why is he there? What is he doing? What is his work? Yes. Can just try. What is Paramatma doing in our body?
Mataji, Paramatma is the knower of all that is happening in our soul as well as in our body.
Because we are the
Okay.
part and parcel.
Yeah.
No, he's a
He's
Droshta.
the knower. He's the knower, but then soul is also the knower, right? There are two knowers here.
But super soul knows all the soul. Right?
All the soul.
Whereas our
Yeah.
own soul knows only our own body and.
No, okay, that is also right. But then in my body, what is he doing? Only if I have to see what is Paramatma doing in my body. What is the role of Paramatma? What is he doing in my body? Yes.
Observing.
Yes.
Observing.
Yeah, very good. Yes. And then observing. One is right. He's observing what we are doing, right? I am engaged in so many things, good and bad deeds. So everything Krishna is making a note of it. And that's why he comes along with us in every life, right? Krishna is making note of all it. So observer. And then what is the other thing he does?
He guides also, Mataji.
Yeah, he also guides. So that is, he guides, and that's how we take actions accordingly, right? So then he is actually Anumanta. Anumanta means the grants our wishes. So guiding is also, you can tell, yeah, guiding is also because when we are really connected, like when we chant more, right? By chanting more, you really connect to the Lord. Then only we can hear, because now so much of noise is there in our mind itself. We can't hear what Krishna is saying. We can't really hear because our mind is making so much of noise. But then when the mind cools down, you chant more sincerely, and then we are able to hear, then yes, Krishna will be able, is ready to guide. Always he is ready to guide. Okay, very nice. Kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetragna yojnanam yettajnanam matam mama. O Skayan of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. So Krishna, soul is the knower of one's own body, as one Prabhu mentioned, right? But the super soul is the knower of chapi, he says. Cha api, kshetragnam, means the knower also, me also is a knower, like you are a knower. There is a soul that is the knower. I am also a knower. So the Krishna is also a knower of the body. He not only sees my body or your body, he sees all the bodies, right? He's he can see what is happening in all the bodies. So that is the difference. And also these are the 3 stages. Okay, we go to the next one. So these are the different type stages in the consciousness. Okay, so one is the awakened stage, right? So that awakened stage is called as Jagruti. So here what happens, all now currently we are in Jagruti stage where we know what is happening and all that. But then the soul is in a slumber because this that is not really much connected with the Lord. So what happens? I mean, though we did so many things, even yesterday from morning to evening, when we are awakened, we did lot of things. But if somebody asks us, what did you do exactly at this time? Or it is difficult for us to tell, like, okay, yesterday morning, 10 o'clock, what you were doing. So we have to think, okay, what I was doing. Because we are not consciously doing, it is difficult for us to recall what exactly happened. And then comes the second, but here Paramatma is observing everything. The super soul is observing everything. What am I doing? What am I thinking behind my mind? Or what am my action I'm doing? Everything he is noting. And then comes the second stage, which is a dreaming stage, this swapna. So here what happens? In that I get a sleep. But morning when I get up, my I don't feel fresh because the body is at sleep, the body is at rest, but then the mind is fully active. So the mind, I'm always thinking something or other. Because the dream, if I remember, that means the mind was active. So that sleep is not giving me much. It doesn't give me a proper rest. So here, the soul is not active, but the super soul is active. And then there is a third stage, which is called as deep sleep. So here, the soul is not active, only Paramatma is active. And here, the body, when we get up morning, right, we'll feel really fresh because the mind is also at peace. So usually, if we have to get a deep sleep, it's a science. The food is very much related. If you're taking late night food, what happens in the digestive system is that digestive. Hare Krishna. Can you please unmute somebody? Okay. Mute. Okay. So what happens, when we take a food very late, and that too very heavy food, the stomach is trying to digest. So there is no rest. Okay. So there are 2 things which it does. One is the healing and one is the digesting. So it needs to heal also, but it doesn't get time to heal. But all the time, because we are eating so much, it is digesting the food. Then you will not even we will not get a proper sleep. That is why it is suggested you be to have at least like around 7 o'clock or before 8. At least 3 hours before we go to bed, we need to have our food. Then you can have a nice sleep. Okay, that is sleep. So there are 3 stages, but there is one more thing. It is called as Turiya, which is the highest stage of consciousness, where our consciousness is very much active and the soul is connected to the super soul. So that stage is called as the 4th one, Turiya. So these are the stages: Jagruti, Swapna, Sushupti is deep sleep, and then Turiya. So this is how we can understand our body and the knower. Like, so there is a garden. So this is a field, right? So there is the sun who is observing, right? The sun rays falls on everything. So similarly, like Paramatma can see all the fields. So like there is a farmer here. So the farmer knows what is happening in his field, what he has grown, right? What he has sown in his field, he knows about it. But the king who is in charge, like he knows, he has an account of all the farmers in the village, what are they growing, he knows all the knowledge. So similarly, it is the same like that. The Paramatma is having knowledge of all that. So he is having knowledge of all the fields, all of us, whatever we are doing, everything Paramatma is in charge of it. Okay. ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतं छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः. The knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities as described by various sages in the various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. So here, Krishna is himself the compiler, compiler of all Vedas, right? All the Vedas is given by Krishna. And the purpose of Veda is to understand Krishna. Veda is sarver ahameva Vedo. But still Krishna is giving here the evidence from the previous authorities who are the rishis. The Vyasadeva is the one who wrote the Vedanta Sutra. There were many philosophies was written. Like there were 5 philosophies. Gautama's Nyaya Shastra, and there was one more philosopher who gave what is that? Vyabhashika Nyaya, and then there was a what is that? Patanjali Yoga Sutra, right? So there were many philosophies. Yeah. And then Karma Mimamsa, Jaimini has given Karma Mimamsa, and Kapila, there was one more Mayavadi Kapila who gave Sankhya philosophy. So Vaisheshik,
Sankhya
Sankhya,
Yoga,
Sankhya,
Nyaya Vaisheshika, and
Nyaya. Yes,
Uttar Mimamsa,
Nyaya.
Purva Mimamsa.
Yes, I think Uttara Mimamsa is what Vyasadeva has given, right? Purva Mimamsa is the what Karma Mimamsa, it is given by Jaimini, it is called. So these are the things given, but then everything had some fault. So the final conclusive was that the Vedanta Sutra is considered to be the highest, which is given by Vyasadeva. And Vyasamuni is none other than Krishna. He is an incarnation, not Krishna direct. He is an incarnation. He is a Sakshya Veshavatara who is given that Krishna has given him that potency, right? So he's empowered. He's been empowered. So he has given the 555 sutras, Vedanta sutras, just like a course, right? So why it is being given? Because anybody can come and do their own philosophy on Vedas. So that should not be done. So that is why he had given. So if anybody has to write, that has to match with the sutras which he has given. So that is the thing. And the main sutras, which he has the invocation mantra, which comes as Athato Brahma Jignasa, means now have inquiry about the truth. So what is that Brahma Jignasa? So how this creation has happened, right? How this creation has happened and how I have come to this world. What is my eternal relation? So like that. So that is called as Athato Brahma Jignasa. And then the one more, it comes in the second sutra, which defines the God as Janmadi Asya Yataha, means Krishna is the source of all emanations. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the source of original of all emanations. So this is the 2 sutras which he has given. There are many like that. So yeah. And now there are 5 stages of Brahman realization, which is called as Panchakusha. So this is all actually manifestation of the Lord, because to enjoy, he manifests in each of the stage. So in the very lowest stage is Annamaya. So where one can realize the God in the food. So depending upon food for existence is called as Annamaya Kosha. So this is called as material realization of the Supreme. And then next to it is the Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha means realizing God in other living entities. So to understand that there is a living being, they are also eternal. So that is a Pranamaya Kosha. So then comes beyond the living symptoms. So Jnanamaya means, or Manomaya means, beyond the living symptoms to extending till the thinking, feeling and willing. So that stage is called as Jnanamaya. So Vijnanamaya is understanding that I am not this body, I am the soul. So that is, there is a difference between the mind and the body and the soul. So knowing this difference is the Vijnanamaya. And Anandamaya is then you realize the God. So Brahman realization is what like many of the yogis they go to, right? So that is called as Brahman realization. So Anandamaya means where you dovetail your activities in the service of the Lord, so that then that person becomes blissful. Because the soul is by nature blissful, but then we have forgot it. But then when we dovetail it, because we are part and parcel of Krishna, right? So that is why when we dovetail it, we can also become blissful. Mahabhutanya buddhiravyakta evacha Indriyani dashaikancha panchachendriya gocharaha ichchadvesha sukham dukkham sangatas chetana dhritihi etak kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. The 5 great elements: false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, the mind, the 5 sense object, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms and convictions. All they are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. So these are called as 24 elements. Okay. So to these 24 elements, we need to add the soul. The 25th is soul and the 26th is super soul. Otherwise, even the Mayavadis, they study these 24 elements, right? So, but then, so there is a 2 addition. So we'll see here. So these are the 24 elements. The gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And there is a knowledge acquiring senses, right? Through eyes we see, right? So seeing, so this is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. And then there are working senses: the voice, legs, hands, evacuating organs, and then reproductive organs. And then this is a subtle: mind, intelligence, and false ego. So these 3 are there. And then there is a pradhana. Pradhana is the unmanifested stage of the modes of nature. So what does it mean? So we don't when you go to a person, when we see somebody, we may have something in mind, but then when they speak, they can be some different person, right? It happens many times. We expect something, but that will be some. So you cannot identify a person until he speaks. So how he speaks is based on what mode he is there. So that is called as pradhana, which is unmanifested until the person speaks up. Okay. And then there is an object of senses. So the form. So these are, you can relate it. From eyes, we see the form. And the ears, you hear the sound. And with the nose, we smell. With the tongue, you taste. And with the touch, we, with the hand, right? This is, yeah, we feel. With the touch, you can feel. Yeah. And then so when this body, the result of the interaction of 24 elements give rise to pleasure, pain, desire, and hatred. So however you engage your senses, these senses, in which objects you engage, right? If you are engaging your eyes in a form of Krishna, so obviously then what will happen? We'll get pleasure. But when you are engaging your eyes, ears, and when we engage in the sense gratification, obviously there is going to be pain, because whatever sense gratification we engage, that is end is initially it will be nice, but the end is always painful, right? Dhyayato vishayan pumsa, we know, right? From the chapter 2, what happens when somebody engages in the sense object. And then here the tongue also, when we taste that Krishna prasad, like when we only have Krishna's the prasad, which was offered to the Lord, then what happens? You that works on our subconscious level. On the subtle level. So it also it will give us. Krishna give us the mind for bhakti, for doing the bhakti, to engage in devotional service, right? He says that dadami buddhi yogam tam. But then how does it come? We need to have the prasad. You need to have the prasad, and it works on the subtle level. And also it helps us to keep away from Maya and then be engaged in Krishna service, right? So like that, what happens by interaction of this sensor, sense object, gross element, all these 24 elements, when it involves, how it involves, based on that, the result is pleasure, pain, desire, and hatred. So, and then there is a soul and super soul. So any questions on this, or we can move ahead? Okay, you can ask me later also. We'll go now. So now Krishna explains about the qualities. This is a real knowledge, the knowledge. Okay. So there are, I think, 26 qualities or something. So amanitvam, adhambitvam, ahimsa, kshantirarjavam, acharyopashanam, saucham, stairam atma vinigraha, indriyartheshu vairagyam, ahankara evacha, janma mrityu jara vyadhi, dukkha doshanu darshanam, asaktirana rispa rana bhisvangaha putradhara gruhadishu, nityancha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu maichanyannanogena bhaktiravya vicharini vivikta desha sevitvam aratirjana samshadi adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva gnanartha darshanam etat gnanam iti proktam ajnanam yatatonyata. So Krishna explains here, we will go in the next slide detail. So explains everything, and he says at last, all these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be ignorance. So the real knowledge is only this. So what is that? So what is humility? So amanitva means humility. So what is humility? Not to be anxious to the satisfaction of being honored. So we should not be expecting that other person to honor me. So like the function of the soul, right? Basically the function of the soul is to be happy, and the function of mind is a sankalpa and vikalpa, like to accept something or to reject something. And what is the function of intelligence is a discrimination. What is good and what is bad, right? So these things are there. But when we chant, the soul becomes happy. So the soul is always desiring for that happiness. So, but when these qualities, these are the qualities which Krishna gives, when these qualities we develop, then this happiness can manifest. Okay, that is the thing. But this is through accepting a spiritual master. So we'll see all the qualities here in detail. So humility, in the sense not to be expecting honor for oneself. So somebody, I mean, if you go, somebody is not talking to you, then we should not degrade our mind by degrade ourselves, our mind. We should not get degraded by our mind, or we should not get hurt. So that is like not being, not expecting any honor. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trunadapi Sunichena. So you have to be as humble as grass. We should not expect. We always have to give respect to others, but we should not expect that respect. So the more we expect, that means we are identifying more with our body, right? But then we can't come out of that bodily consciousness if we are more anxious about it. And then comes the pridelessness, understanding you are not body, and thus honor and dishonor are both the same. So when you understand that you are not body, right? So that for that person, he never gets insulted. So honor and dishonor are both are same for him. And then non-violence, unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. So violence is of three types. So one is on the physical level, right? And one is on the mental level. Mental level also we get, hurting others. That is also mental violence. And then there is a spiritual violence. Spiritual violence in the sense, I am not taking care of my soul, or I am not giving that spiritual knowledge to my soul, or I am stopping somebody from their spiritual growth. So that is called as spiritual non-violence. Violence. So we should not do that. So that is called as non-violence, practicing that. And then tolerance. Tolerance be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. So be tolerant. And then simplicity. Simplicity is so straightforward that you can disclose the truth even to the enemy. So not having something in mind or speaking something else. It is not like that. Being straightforward in our behavior. Accepting a spiritual master. So this is very essential because we can't understand on our own all this philosophical knowledge, right? So we need a spiritual master. So somebody is mute. Okay. And then cleanliness. So cleanliness is external and internal. External cleanliness is to take bath twice a day, and then internal cleaning is chanting the holy name, so that by chanting we clear our the dirt from our heart, right? Then the consciousness becomes more clear when we chant more. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, cleansing the heart, dirt from the heart. Then steadiness, determined to make progress in spiritual life. So I need to be determined that I will chant whatever happens. I will chant the 16th round today. I will only complete and then go to bed, right? So that commitment, that determination should be there. And then self-control. So reject anything favorable to spiritual advancement or control the senses. So self-control, this is very important, because if we are engaging in the more in materialistic environment, obviously we are attracted by so many things outside, or the association also becomes very important here to have self-control. If your association is like that, but then you will not be able to help, because they pull you, right, to do to engage in the sense gratification work things. So it is very so this is very important if we have to progress in spiritual life. So rejecting anything, anukulasya sankalpaha pratikulasya varchanam. So whatever is favorable for Krishna and Guru, doing that, and rejecting anything which is not accepted by them, which is not from which they are not happy. Renunciation of sense object. So that means not to cater to unnecessary demands gratified only to keep body fit. So we should not be too much concentrated on the bodily demands. Absence of false ego. So false ego means identifying myself as this body. So true ego is to be a servant of Krishna. Perceptions of evil. So regularly hear about these from the proper source, become disgusted with material life. So how do we develop detachment in this material world? Because now currently we are very much attached, because we don't know the consequence of it. I engage in certain activities, I don't know that I'm going to have the return for that. The karma phala is there. For every action there is a thing, but we don't know, and we engage in so many things. But then when we understand, so then we get that detachment, right? Okay, when I know what is going to be the result if I'm going to do this for my sense of enjoyment, if I'm killing some other living entity and I'm eating, right? So I'm also going to get that punishment. So we become more careful and we become disgusted with material life. So then detachment, be ready to sacrifice everything for Krishna. No entanglement with wife, children, family, etc. So should practice if you can do in a Krishna conscious way, but renounce is unfavorable. So here Prabhupada says that if a family is engaged in the God conscious, in the Krishna consciousness, then there is no need to be, it will be a Vaikuntha itself, in the home itself. But then otherwise too much attachment is also like Prabhupada calls it as an extended selfishness. Mam mameti, right? So that should not be there. What happens if you are too much attached, like Dhritarashtra was too much attached to Duryodhana, so then he will not be able to understand anything on the spiritual platform. So that becomes a obstacle in the path of spirituality. Even-mindedness. So not elated or distressed at material gain or loss, performing unbreakable devotional service. So so ahaituki apratiyata. So there should not be any motive, or there should not be any break in devotional service. Unalloyed devotional service, ananya bhakti, engaging oneself in 9 processes of bhakti. So what are the 9 processes of bhakti? What are the 9 processes of bhakti?
Mananam, Archanam,
Swaranam,
Dasyam,
Sevanam,
Sakyam,
Yes.
Matsevanam,
Vedanam.
then Kirtanam, Dasyam, Sakyam.
Atmanivedanam. Okay, very nice. So these are the 9 processes. So at least start with the Shravanam. Hear more and more about Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, right? So that's how we cleanse our mind and the heart, both. So aspiring to live in a solitary place. So here Prabhupada gives explanation that not desiring to mix with materialistic people, live in the association of devotees. So we know that association is very much required for all of us, because we cannot be without association, right? We are like, for human being, the association is required, and so as the desire. We cannot make our desire null. It cannot make null. The desires will always be there, but only we have to dovetail. Our desire should be mold. I mean, we have to show the proper path to the desire. And also we need the help of the devotees. The association becomes very important. Only when we see somebody is advancing, then we also, okay, oh, she's advancing or he is advancing. Okay, let me also do. How are they following? Let me also follow. Then I can also do. How is he so busy but still able to do the chanting 16 rounds? So let me take some tips, right? That's how the association helps us. So be in the association of devotees. So, and then aspiring to, so this is over. Detachment from general mass of people. So this is again the same. Accepting the importance of self-realization. So Prabhupada gives here that one should not unnecessarily involve in unnecessary sporting, cinema going, because what happens, cinema going also, the consciousness, our consciousness will spoil. Because most of the cinemas, like even the heroes, the so-called heroes, or they are also in the Rajo and Tamo Guna only, right? They are not in the Sattvic Guna. So obviously that will influence us, and we also follow that. So that is why we have to avoid. And then social activities, and avoid wasting time. We should not unnecessarily waste our time. Instead, we can use for gaining knowledge or for self-realization. And philosophical research. So unnecessary philosophical research, right? It is not recommended. So the science also, in the people, philosophers, they involve in so many researches which is not required, or going. Prabhupada really condemns this going to moon and all this. What is it? It's a waste of time and money, right? Why it is required? So, but it's everything is given in Shastras. Like if you have to go to the moon planet, you need a certain type of body. Otherwise, it is not possible to go to that planet. So similarly, so such many philosophical researches are these are not required. So these all together is called as knowledge. Apart from this, whatever is there, that is Krishna calls it as the ignorance. So basically, anything that leads to Krishna is knowledge. Anything that doesn't lead to Krishna is ignorance. Neyam yattat pravakshyami yajnatva mrutamashnute anadimat parabrahma nasattanna saduchyate. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman. Eternal Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect. So now Krishna will explain us what is the soul and what is the super soul. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvabhrutchaiva nirgunam gunabhoktrucha. The super soul is the virginal source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the mode of nature, and at the same time, he is a master of all modes of nature. So this we saw in the chapter 4, right? So the difference between the soul and the super soul. So here the super soul is being explained. So Krishna is the master of all senses, but because he is called as Rishikesha. Rishikesha means master of all senses, which includes the mind. But then he is without senses. How do we understand this? He has senses, but they are transcendental. We can see Krishna has senses. He has all the sense, but then they are all transcendental. Because Brahma's Amrita also says, Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti. So one organ of Krishna can perform the functions of other organs. So even if Krishna, Krishna can walk with his eyes, right? Anything is possible for him. For us, only with legs we can walk, or only with hands I can eat. But for Krishna, he can eat with eyes. So that is why he is called as one organ can perform. Like that's how we see it, because Krishna says in previous chapters we saw, right? I think in the chapter 10 where Krishna says, "From my mind the sages are born, the 7 sages." How do we understand this? How? For us it is not possible, right? Krishna alone, Prabhupada says, Krishna don't need a wife to create other, living entity. Brahma, how did Brahma was born? Brahma came from the navel of lotus stem, like from the navel of Mahavishnu. So it is not possible for us to understand. So this is called as Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva of the Lord. So simultaneously one and different. So that is Krishna's sense. Without that means it is transcendental. His senses are not material, and he is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. So Krishna maintains everyone, but he is not attached, right? Every Brahma's day, morning, he creates the world, and then by the night he annihilates on his every day of his. So he is detached, but then Krishna is also maintainer of all living entities. All the living entities, Krishna he takes care. So he transcends the mode of nature. We are in the control of 3 modes, the Sattva, Rajo and Tamoguna. But Krishna is above all the 3 modes, because the 3 modes also works under Krishna's energies, because it is an external energy of Krishna. Krishna says, Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mayeva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. So my external energy, the divine energy, my external energy, right? He says, he calls it as. So she is very difficult to cross over, but then whoever surrenders to me can easily cross over it. So that is why he is above the 3 modes, because he is the creator of that. She also works as per his direction, and at the same time he is the master of all mode of incarnation. And Krishna is as a Paramatma in our heart. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha Sukshmatvat tada vigneyam dhurastam shantike chatat. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. Although far away, he is also near to all. So this is again the same thing, continuation, Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, right? How Krishna is inside and outside. So here we can see this is a Krishna when he went to protect Prahlad Maharaj in the womb of Uttare, right? So that time Krishna was standing outside. Uttara was able to see, because she called out for Krishna. She was able to see her. She was able to see Krishna outside, but he became so small and he went inside her womb, and then he protected. He stopped the Brahmastra which was left by Ashwatthama. So this is, and also Krishna when Prahlad Maharaj, so when he calls him, that when his father asked him, is your Narsimha in your Vishnu there in this tomb? He says yes. And then because Name Bhakta Pranashyati, Krishna says, right? Means whatever he take care of whatever his devotees say does not go false. So Krishna comes out of the pillar. So Krishna is there, but then Krishna is also there in the Goloka. And then Krishna is there, and also when we offer food, he comes and take. How is it possible? He comes in Archa Vigraha. We saw in chapter 12. So where out of mercy, Krishna takes the form of Archa Vigraha, the deity form, and then he accepts the prasad. So these are all Krishna's inconceivable potency. So this is, and also he's there in Andantarastam Paramanu Chayantarastam. He's there even in the small atom, and he's also there in Goloka, like that. And then he's far away, yet he is also near. So this is also told by the same thing. Like Krishna, when a pure devotee calls, right? Kanakadasa called, he came and he gave the darshan. The Vigraha itself turned, right, in the Udupi. He gave the darshan. How is it possible? He is there with Lakshmi in Vaikunta, Vishnu, or Krishna in Goloka. He can also come here and give darshan to devotees. So he is far and he is near. Tade jati tannai jati taddure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bahyatah tade jati tannai jati. So that is from the Ishopanishad. So he walks, he does not walk. He is far away, but he is near, like that it says. He is the source. He is the source of light in all illuminous object. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. So Krishna is there in everyone's heart, and Krishna is also compared to the sun. Krishna Surya Sama Maya hai Andhakar. Jaha Surya Krishna Jaha Krishna Vaha Maya ka na adhikar. So when there is Krishna, there is no darkness. So anything that lead to me to Krishna is the actual knowledge. Iti kshetram tata jnanam jneyam choktam samasatah madbhakta etad vignaya madbhavayopapadyate. Thus the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the noble have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. So only we can understand Bhagavad Gita if we have mercy of a pure devotee and mercy of Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible to understand. Right? It's not possible for everyone to understand Bhagavad Gita. Guru Krishna Krupa Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. So in this picture, the two birds, okay, this analogy is like that. So this is tree is like our body, and the two birds, one is the soul here, and the super soul. So we can see the soul has become very old. I mean, here we can see, I mean, here it's quite, lifetime he has spent, and he has involved in many activities. But still, until we die, what we do? We keep on tasting different fruit. One sweet, it will be sweet. One will be bitter. One will be sour, like that, right? So different, if we are, and then the Paramatma, he's watching me. What am I doing? And then he's waiting for me. So when he's ready to give his hand, help me, like to give me hand, that listen to me. But I'm not ready. I'm saying, wait, Krishna, I have to eat this fruit. I have to eat that fruit. So I'm not yet done in this world, right? I have so many things to do here. So I'm not ready to come out of it. So that is why. So yeah. Okay. Sorry, this tree can be actually compared to a material world where we have different fruits and we go in the search of many, different fruits, and by which we get happiness and sometimes pain. Prakritim purushanchaiva vidyanadi ubhavapi vikaranscha gunaschaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginless. They transformations and mode of matter or product of material nature. So everything in the material nature I see, everything goes, transformation is there. Nothing is permanent here. Everything goes for change. And how do I get my body? My body as per my desire, right? So I desire something to become, or I desire something, I have a wish. So then what happens? So Krishna is there as Paramatma in our heart. He observes that and he instructs the material nature. So based accordingly, the next life I am going to get accordingly. So based on that, my next life will be designed. So if I am associating with the superior nature, I can go to even spiritual planet. And when I have association with Bhagavad Gita, like that. But then if I associate with the lower nature, I take birth in the lower entities. So what is the role of association leading to 84 lakh species? So, Karya Karana Kartrutve Hetu Prakritiruchyate Purusha Sukha Dukkhana Bhoktrutve Heturuchyate. Nature is said to be the cause of all material activities and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. So, based on my association in this life, the next body I get, right? So the living entity is the cause of various suffering and enjoyment. If I engage myself with the lower nature, then I get to suffer in my next life. So if you are not, because Prabhupada says, if you are in God conscious, we are chanting and we are engaging in devotional service, at least human life is guaranteed for next life. Otherwise, there is no guarantee, right? There are 84 lakh species. Padma Purana says that there are 84 lakh species. So based on our association, we can go down also. There's no guarantee that I have to get so here we see the person is without any discrimination eating anything and everything. So then he gets a next body. See, the person, half body we can see like so this is nature is preparing my body for next life. So he's eating here, so his body is preparing here for next life. This is how is. So we have to be so careful when we associate. Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasadyo nijanmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. Right? So, this is how, based on my association. And so, what do we have to do? First, develop the mode of goodness. So, when we develop mode of goodness, so that also, I mean, association is also important, and developing mode of goodness by reading Shastras and chanting. So that's how I come to Sattva Guna. And then it is easy for me to understand about the spiritual knowledge. Otherwise, what happens? We keep on taking so many lives. So good and evil species, Krishna says, it can be highest is the human life actually. That is why we should not waste human life just in eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So it is for a higher purpose. So what are the two things that super soul do? I think we discussed this. Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti cha apyuktaha dehesmin purushah paraha. Yet in this body, there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as an overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Super Soul. So, Krishna is a transcendental enjoyer. So, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So whatever sacrifices are done, the end result is going to Krishna only. So he is the ultimate enjoyer. So he is the transcendental enjoyer and who is the supreme proprietor. Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. In this is even in 5.29 the shloka comes. But who exists as the overseer and permitter. So what does he do? He oversees our activities and then he permits, he gives permission. Sometimes we know, right? Some activities he gives permission, sometimes even if we wish it don't happen. So we should think that there is no, Krishna is not granting it. So we should not get depressed for it. So we should think in that way that, okay, Krishna does not wish that this thing to happen. That is why I'm not getting it. Maybe that is not good for me. That is why Krishna is not giving me, right? Ya evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvata vartamanopi nasa bhuyo vijayate. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth again regardless of his present present position. So in the human form, we have this opportunity, right, to go back to spiritual world, to raise from the lowest form to a spiritual form. So this is like a Shruti Pala, right? One who understands this philosophy. Krishna says he will not have to take birth again. So some perceive the soul within themselves through meditation, others through cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without desires. So, but then all the other things, it will all take, it will take many years of birth, meditation and all. But even the cultivation of knowledge but this is not the highest. working without fruitive desires is called as karma yoga. No, not karma yoga. That is a renunciation of actions, of fruitive actions. Renunciation of fruits. Anyetva anvetve yamajanantah shutvanyebhya upasate tepi chantitarantyeva mrityu shrutiparayanaha. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. So from here, Krishna is explaining about different people who can pass this life and death cycle by different sources. So some here we saw some by meditation, like that dhyana yoga. In the chapter 6 we saw Ashtanga yoga, right? The yogis. But through that they perceive the Paramatma, and then through cultivation of knowledge, as Mayavadis they do by cultivation of knowledge, and then they are working through without without fruitive desires. And then now he explains that there are people who, by hearing also, by hearing from bona fide acharyas, like here we can see Kapila Muni, who says there's Sankhya philosophy, right? He's a incarnation of Lord Krishna himself, who comes as a son of Devahuti and Kartaba Muni, and to mother he tells this knowledge. So even by hearing, she can she transcends she gets liberated. So Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam stavara jangamam kshetra kshetragna sanyoga tadvidhi bharatashabha. O chief of Bharatas, whatever you see in existence, both moving and unmoving, is the only combination of the field of activities and the knower of field. So everything is a permutation and combination, right? So whatever is the mode of nature the living entity is, and the living entity, the superior nature, when they both combine, then the effect, whatever is the effect, that is the, whatever we see the effect is because of the combination of these two, the field of activities and the knower of the field, which is the soul. The field of activities we understood, right? That 24 elements. So that is the, Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyat vinashyantam yaf pashyati sapashyati. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul is ever destroyed, actually sees. So this is a true knowledge, right? Actual knowledge. To see that the body is separate, the soul is separate, and this is a Paramatma. To see that. So how do we understand? By approaching a bona fide spiritual master, right? So here Parameshwara, samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram. Sometimes Prabhupada says that it is, even Parameshwara is also called as soul, because the soul doesn't perish when the body gets perished, right? So when a person is able to see everyone, right? There is one more shloka in chapter 5. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shuni chaivashva pakecha pandita samadarshinaha. So when a person is in knowledge, he is able to see a dog eater, a brahmana, right? And a dog, and an elephant. So these things, everyone on an equal platform, because he sees the super soul in them. So that the same thing here also Krishna is explaining. Samam pashyani sarvatra. This is what we read, right? Okay, different. Samam pashyani sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram nahi nasti atman atmanam tato yatik param gatim. One who sees the super soul in every living entity and equal everywhere does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination. So when we know that there is a Paramatma in my heart, we don't engage ourselves in any of the sinful activity, right? So because we know that there is a Paramatma. So that's how we don't, so then we don't, the mind does not get degraded. Prakrutaiva cha karmani kriyamani sarvashah if pashyati tatatmanam akartaram cha pashyati. one who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. So this body is compared to a machine, right? It is designed by the Lord and it does various function, various organs does the various function. In order to fulfill the desire of the soul, I am given certain body, right? So based on my desire, I will get certain body to fulfill my desires. So when this transcendental vision is developed, one who understands that the soul is not doing anything actually, he is only desiring, but everything is carried out by the body, right? So then he separates himself from the bodily activities. So that is called as the Brahman realization actually. So such a person is called as actual seer. So how do you explain the statement, the self does nothing? So can somebody tell and try to answer this? How can we explain that the self does nothing? The soul is not doing anything. How do we say that?
So if I try to explain it by the 5 koshas, so pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, and annamaya kosha, right? So this lower 3 is basically does most of the thing, but in the upper layer, a soul is anandamaya kosha. So there normally it is stand still. So there is no movement. So in that sense, I think it says self does nothing.
Yeah, because the soul is not, because soul is actually cannot do anything, right? It is, I mean, it only does desires, but then all thing is, it then engage the, what happens if the soul is not in control, then we know the mind engages itself more of in sense activities. So we know the hierarchy also in the chapter 3 we saw, right? So the senses are, the mind is higher to senses, and higher to mind is intelligent, and higher to intelligence is the soul. So soul, when we start feeding the soul, then what happens? Then it will be able to guide me the right way and then engage my senses and mind in a right direction. So otherwise it will not be able to do. But then the punishment is given to the soul. Why? Because he's the one who is desiring, right? I'm the one who is desiring. Who am I? Means when I say me, I'm the one who is desiring, I'm talking about the soul, right? The soul is the one who desires, because of which everything is happening. I'm getting different bodies. So I have to be very careful on what I desire. Yeah. It's not moving. Okay. Yata sarvagatam saukshmyadakasham nopalipyate sarvatravastito dehe tatatma nopalipyate. So here's an analogy which explains how the soul is also being in a body. Soul does nothing. So here Krishna explains the sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body through situated in that body, though situated in that body. So coming to this platform is not so easy, right? To coming to Brahman platform and considering myself as a soul and not considering me as body, right? Suddenly if somebody scolds me or insult me, I will feel bad, because I am identifying with my body, because it is not easy for me to come out of that bodily identity. So here, when a person comes to that Brahman platform, then he understands that he is different from body. So we saw yesterday I was telling you about the 6 Goswamis who are so detached with everything, and they were so rich, but they given everything and they took the sannyas, right? And even the Prabhupada. So they were only living because they have understood that I'm not this body. So they were no more acting on the satisfying bodily needs. So they were working for Krishna. So this is like when there is a so there is a air in water, right? Air is also in the stool, right? It's in the dirty things, but then it doesn't get mixed, or it does, or there is some some bad odor passing through the air, but then it doesn't stick to the air, right? Air does not become contaminated by it. So similarly, the soul does not mix with my body, right? Or the blood or the urine, it doesn't get mixed. The soul remains separate. Yata prakasha yatyekah kritsnam lokamimam ravihi kshetram kshetri tata kritsnam prakashayati bharata. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminate all this universe, so does the living entity one within the body illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So what is the symptom that I am alive? The consciousness, right? The soul, the symptom, we know that the body is alive because there is a soul. Because of the soul, there is a consciousness. If somebody pinch me, I can make that pain. Because why? Because the consciousness is spread throughout the body. So that is why, just like how a sun is sitting in one place, he illuminates the complete universe. So similarly, this soul illuminates the whole body, and the consciousness is the proof. Kshetra kshetragna yorevam antaram gnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti mokshancha evi duryanti te param. One who knowingly sees this difference between the body and can understand the process of liberation from this bondage also attains the supreme goal. So what is the final message we understand from this Gita? We should understand from this chapter is that I am separate. So what is to understand the knowledge of to know the body, the Kshetra, and the Kshetragna, the seer, the owner of the body, and the super soul. So then to understand the process of liberation. What is the process of liberation? Prabhupada explains in the chapter Shloka 8 to 12. So how to develop that knowledge? The humility, amanitvam, adambitvam, right? Ahimsa, kshanti, rajavam. So that all those qualities. So that is called as the process of liberation. So, and why do we need this? To attain the supreme abode. So this is the chapter. So this is the summary. So there was Arjuna 6 question. Etad veditum ichchami. Description of Kshetra and Kshetragna. Kshetragnam chapi mamviti. Process of acquiring knowledge. Mahichanyanya yogena. Neyam, object of knowledge. Object of knowledge is Krishna. Sarvata pani padam tat. Means this is another shloka which says that everywhere he has his hands and legs. That is the universal form, right? Arjuna sees in chapter 11 that everywhere I see your mouth, leg, everywhere spread. So that is Krishna. That is the universal form is described here. Prakriti, Purusham and union. Karanam Guna Sangosya. So how do we get a next body? Based on my association. And then vision of knowledge. Kshetra kshetragnayor evam antaram jnana chakshusha. So how should be the vision? The distinction I should know. What is the difference between a Kshetra, Kshetragna, and that knowing that I am separate from it. The soul is separate. Okay, thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha krupa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha ananta koti vaishnavamtiki chinnam. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Any questions on today's class? Let me know. Sasha Mataji, you have any question?
No, Mataji. No question, Mataji.
Okay. Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, let me know if you have questions. You can post in the chat or you can ask. Is it clear? Yeah. Yes.
One question I have
Yeah.
regarding this Atma and Paramatma. So when we say we are liberated from birth and death cycle, does it mean we still remain as a soul? I mean,
Yes.
that individual existence is always
there. That is always there. Only thing is like it is said that the soul shrinks itself, becomes very small when it comes to this material world. But when I go back to spiritual world, that becomes large. I mean, it gets its own spiritual body. That's how, like Krishna, we also get that like a spiritual body, right? So, but no material body there. So that is, but always it is there.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Mataji,
Yes, Mataji.
when everybody knows that Paramatma is living in our soul, then too people do many crimes. So God should have made that software, then He should have sent us. That's what I feel so.
God should have made what?
Software, so that the people will remember always Paramatma, not to
See,
make
Krishna,
any crime.
see, that is why Krishna has given us free will, right? Everybody knows. Do you think that the person who is doing crime, he don't know that he's doing wrong? He knows it, but he does it, right? Krishna has given that will. Free will has been given to all of us. But then this is our choice. And because of that, we suffer. And because of that, we have to face the karma. If I do, I have to face it, right? So that free will is given. Even the murderer also knows that what he did is wrong. But then why does he do? Because of he's in a ignorance, mode of ignorance. So he is not in a knowledge, and it's all because of the association. So yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kurukshetra happened even though Krishna was there, was present physically.
Correct. Yes.
So it
Even
will
Krishna,
happen.
yeah, it will, yeah, we can't help people like, I mean, Krishna does not interfere in those things. His work is, we saw, right? Krishna's work is only Upadrashta and Anumanta, to see, oversee what is happening and take a note, and then to fulfill the desire. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, after telling all the instructions, at last Krishna says, Yatha ichchasi tata kuru. Do as you like. He doesn't order Arjuna, now you go and fight. Because Krishna knows, even if Arjuna is not doing, everything is decided, it will happen as per his plan. But then he only gives him instruction and he tells, you become my instrument, right? But then he leaves to him. That free will is given always. Krishna does not force anyone. So this knowledge also, Bhagavad Gita, is for all of us. So we have to take it, and how we apply it is left to us. If we are not taking it, then we are bound here, right? Krishna cannot do anything. He comes with us as a Paramatma in every, whatever life I take, he's coming as Paramatma. But then I am suffering, right? I am suffering. If I understand, then I have to find out how to come out of it. Then I develop some proper knowledge. Then it is good for me. Okay, there's Viraj asking a question. Mataji, why we are born in first place if our ultimate goal is to achieve self-realization? So born in first place basically because of our desires. So Krishna was not willing to create this material world, but because of our desires, he has created a varieties. Because so many varieties, 84 lakh species, just imagine, every species has a different desire. So accordingly, Krishna's variegatedness is there in this material world. However we want to enjoy, Krishna is telling material nature, and she's creating a proper body for it. So it is our desire, we have came, and we are born in the sense material body, you are asking, right? Because the soul does not born. It says, right, it is nityo nityanam. It is always eternal. It's always existing. It does not take birth. There is no birth and death for soul. Only the material body is taking birth, and it is because of my desire I am taking birth. Okay, Savita Mataji, explain Mahavishnu, Garbhodaka Shayi Vishnu, and Kshirodaka Shayi Vishnu. Okay. Okay, so basically the expansions, Bhagavatam explains, Canto 1. So from Krishna, so I'll start from that, okay? So from Krishna comes the Balram. So Balram is the first expansion of the Lord, and from Balram comes the Sankarshana. Sankarshana is the four expansion, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, from Balram comes the Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Vasudeva. And from that expansion comes Narayana. Narayana And from Narayana comes second Sankarshana. Then again, those 4 quadruple expansions. And from that, from second Sankarshana expands to Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is the one who lies on the Karana ocean, who is the cause of the material universe. Okay. So who is the cause? So through him, n number of universes are created. From his, when he inhale, right, the Mahavishnu inhale and exhale, the n number of universes are created. Also, Brahma Samhita quotes that from pores of Mahavishnu, the universes is created. And then he creates the universe, but then the Garbhodaka, his expansion is Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu, who goes inside the each universe to create a paraphernalia to live there, right? And then Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu lies on the Garbhodaka ocean. It's like a water. And then from him, the next expansion is Kshirodaka Shai Vishnu, who is also called as Paramatma, who stays in our heart as the Shankha Chakra Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. So Kshirodaka Shai Vishnu, he lies on the Kshira Sagara. So whenever there is a problem, all the devatas to go to this Kshirodaka Shai Vishnu. So this Vishnu is like a super soul in all the living entities. So he is a Kshirodaka Shai Vishnu. Is it clear, Mataji? Hope that is clear. Hare Krishna. Okay, any other questions? Okay, any other questions? You can post in chat or you can unmute. Okay, if there are no questions, then we can close, I think, for today. You can all unmute and chant Hare Krishna 3 times. We all can chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thanks for coming. Yeah, see you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So tomorrow is modes of nature, material nature. We've been hearing about modes of nature. So tomorrow is about modes of material nature. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. And also tomorrow is Ekadashi. Try to keep fasting. Fast from grains. At least don't take grains. And try to take fruits. And you can have sweet potato and any milk products, paneer. All these things are allowed. So, yeah. And also there is a Rajgira, I think that some different flour also available for this one. And also sabudana, nylon sabudana you can use. You can make khichdi. So just avoid from grains, okay? And chant more. It is very auspicious. And also whoever wish to donate, tomorrow is very auspicious day. Tomorrow you can donate, okay? Yeah. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.